Okay, new video after a while, huh? So, as you can see, new webcam, new mic, new background. So, yeah, I figured I'll start recording videos after a while since I had some time. This video is more of a response to a specific question that someone asked, but I figured I can make a video out of it because one, I'm not going to type all that shit, and two, my voice message era has been many years in decline since I started making videos. So I figured I'd just put this out there. Okay. So the question more generally is, how do you learn in the sense that we all have interests, we all have things that we want to do, but then again, how do you choose what what you want to do in life, and what and how do you know that the thing that you've chosen to do for the rest of your life is something that you really want to do? So that is what I'm going to try to answer, not answer, but more so give a larger context that you can base your answers on. So in my case, the way I started, I mean, for most of you all that know, I took mechatronics kind of on a whim because I was interested in robotics, but then I had no idea how to get started. So then I figured maybe this is the best way for me to get there. And that's what's motivated a lot of the decisions that I made so far. The university that I through, went to for my masters, the stuff that I did while I was there, uh, the extracurricular activities, the companies I worked at, whatever. So it can be somewhat difficult for someone who has no idea what to do to know how to do things, because I've been there and I know it can be very annoying, especially when you have to tell other people what your plans are and you're like, bro, I don't know, bro. So to start with, I guess I can start with the more abstract uh, concept, which is, see, like, no matter what we do, all our decisions, if you abstract them enough, are based on kind of two things: the things that we know before, up to this point, and the things that we will know after this point. In the sense that, let's say, you want to figure out where you want to go to for college. Now you look at the options, you see that there is, mechanical engineering, there is computer engineering, there is civil engineering. Maybe you're not even an engineering student and you want to do, biotech or life sciences, or the arts or the humanities. Even within those other fields, there are so many other options that you can choose from. In my case, I'm sticking specifically to engineering because this is specifically to engineering students, but I think you can adapt this advice to other fields as well. So obviously the question arises, how do I know that what I've chosen is something that I really like? And to that, my answer is, you'll never know. You will get ever so close to something that you can think of as something that you want to do, but in actuality, you will never know for sure. Like, for example, when I decided to take mechatronics or whatnot, and I decided this is what I want to do. Obviously, at that time, I had no idea that there will be days that I would have absolutely hated. That if I had knowledge of, maybe that would have uh, changed my decision for the better or worse. We don't know. Like, good news, bad news, who knows, right? And that is one of the central, I guess, factors that are motivating this video, which is, life is not deterministic. You can't solve life. You take the info that you have right now, you make the decisions that you can make based on the information that you have right now, and then you commit to it. Don't be wishy-washy about, oh, like, this is something that I see a lot with people nowadays, because you have so many options, you get what's called decision paralysis or analysis paralysis, because you have so many options. तो क्या करने का वो सब, this, what if I do this, what if I do that, I could do this also, I could do that also. You've probably heard of this phenomenon in relation to, like, other factors, like the whole interpersonal relationships and whatnot, or the reason why society is becoming so atomized. But it also expresses itself in ways like this, where you think you have so many options, so you don't know what to decide. I know I've covered this somewhat in other videos, but the easier way is start with what you don't know, because again, this is something that I like to see a lot. You don't know what you don't know. So to know what you know, you must first know what you don't know. With, so to illustrate it differently, this if this is the circle of things that you know, now you need to understand what that boundary is. This is basically the line between what you know and what you don't know. But obviously everything past that boundary is something that you don't know in, so you may not even know that there's a boundary to your knowledge or your intelligence or whatever. You won't know that there's a limit. Now, before you even do anything else, I recommend finding that limit. What are the things that you may have known about? Let's say you're interested in computer science, because literally every person in India is fucking interested in computer science, because that is just how we are, right? So let's say you are interested in computer science and you want to take computer science as your major for BTech work, whatever. Do you like computer science, or do you like the idea of computer science? Have you actually written a program, taking it from start to end? Have you looked at what a computer science textbook even has in it? Or maybe you just like coding, or maybe you just like software engineering, the skill, and not computer science, the discipline where you have to learn DSA and you have to learn operating systems and you have to learn all that stuff. Similarly, maybe your parents were engineers, and you might think that that is a natural course of action to take. But what if you may have just liked the idea of engineering from whatever your parents must have told you, but then you absolutely hate working long nights, all this stuff that traditional engineers have to do, which is you crunch all that math, go to the labs, go to do that. What if you just want to like draw and write and explore abstract concepts? Maybe the humanities is something for you, right? But how do you know that unless you haven't tried it? So that being said, I know that there are constraints, real life constraints, financial constraints, logistical constraints. So I definitely speak from a place of relative privilege. And if someone does not have access to that privilege, then they have to make the decisions that they have to make, which again plays into the whole thing that I'm saying, which is understand your limits, what you can or cannot do, and then make decisions accordingly. So I kind of went on a tangent, but to loop back to the first point that I want to make, which is start with what you know, or like the data that you have. I like to make a comparison to the way AI works, which is good. Okay. So hear me out. This is going to sound really dumb, but like, you know how the way AI works is you have data, you just dump it in the model. The model does some pattern matching, and we can argue about that later. But based on that, then you provide it a piece of data that it has never encountered before, and it uses all the data it has gathered till that point to make a decision. And then, depending on whether that answer or that output is right or wrong, it maybe updates its models or whatever. The same applies to human intelligence in some way. Obviously, we are born into certain biases, biologically, racially, culturally, whatever, which can inform certain decisions that we make for the better or worse. That being said, what I'm talking about is something higher than that, which is given that you have something that you want to solve and you have literally no data on that no data that is directly relevant to the question that you're trying to solve or the problem that you're trying to answer, how can you make a decision and be confident with that decision? For example, if you have no idea, coming looping this, applying this concept to the problem of selecting engineering branches or majors, how do you know that the branch that you're selecting is the one that you want if we have no data about what the other branches do, what the other branches contain, or whether you even like the other branches? Maybe you're just taking computer science because someone just told you that's the only this is the only field that you should go, because this is the only field where you make money. We've seen what learn to code has done to this country. So take make of that what you will. But again, if you don't know anything about mechanical engineering, if you don't know anything about civil engineering, if you don't know anything about electronics engineering, then how the fuck can you make a decision that is going to change the trajectory of your life forever based on data that you don't have any fucking idea about? That is not how it works. And we say all this stuff about, oh, AI is not intelligent or sentient, and I agree. But then the way some of y'all humans act is just fucking stupid. Okay, so please, at that point, I think AI is better than you. Rant aside, the point I'm trying to make here again is, try to gather data. If you don't have that data, try to gather that data. And it can be a daunting process, because again, where do you even begin? And then you go down the rabbit hole of, oh, what are the best places to learn all this stuff, what are the best places to note down all this stuff. And that is where the whole productivity rabbit hole begins. The obsidian, the vim, the whole uh, what's it called, personal knowledge management system, PKMS, rabbit hole or whatever. Which is, I mean, I've gone down that hole, wasted a couple weeks, months. I mean, it was I found it was fulfilling, but I wouldn't call this the most efficient use of my time. Which again, uh, you don't have to worry about everything being efficient, because if you were to optimize for that, then you wouldn't do anything in life, because you'd be so risk averse to doing anything that you wouldn't do anything at all, and that in itself is an efficiency, right? Inefficiency. So think about it this way: you have data about X, you do not have data about Y or Z. What specific data do you have about X? Maybe let's say X, Y, and Z are branches. So X is probably computer science, because that's what most people talk about. So that is, I will assume, what you know the most about. What is it that you know about computer science? Is it the packages that they get? Is it what software engineers actually do? Is it what you're actually supposed to know in order to succeed in computer science? For that, I think I have another video that talks about how to succeed in different branches. Okay, let's say that is what you know. These are the different labels that you attach to the data, the different categories of data or categories of knowledge that you have about X. Do you have the same data for Y and Z? If you don't, then find that information. If you don't know how much electrical engineers earn, or if you don't know how much mechanical engineers earn, or if you don't know what they learn during the course of the degree, then find that out, understand it. Or if you cannot make decisions based on asymmetrical data or biased data, because right now, if you know a lot about X but you don't know anything about Y or Z, then that is inherently biased and asymmetric data that is not going to help you make a informed, holistic decision for what to do next. That is just how data works. So do that. Now, in the process of all this, you now everything that I've talked about so far is the more agentic, abstract strategy, where I'm not necessarily considering the human aspect to all this, which is obviously like, who's going to sit the whole day and do all this, because people get bored, people get burnt out, people are going through things, maybe that is literally the only choice they have, and all that stuff. Agreed, acknowledged, valid. Find out those constraints first, and I would argue that even within those constraints, it is a lot of this is determined by, for lack of better phrasing, right now, a mindset, a reframing of the situation in your mind that makes you more receptive, or more or increases the amount of self agency that you have when it comes to the the decision making of it all. And I don't have a specific answer to that question, because again, when it comes to personal things or human things, everyone is different, everyone has their own things that they're going through. And so I don't like doing the self help self-help guru thing and saying, oh, this is what you're supposed to do, and then everyone just fucking does that thing because everyone's different. I can only provide you the tools and the context, but you have to make the decision. That is something that you need to gain the ability to do so. I can't give you agency. The agency is something that you must build yourself. It's not something you can drink out of a bottle or something that you can get from a book or anything. That is, life is gaining agency. That is like you live life gaining agency. That is how it works. So there is, yeah, like it's literally just a mindset change. Now, how do you affect that mindset change? Maybe in my case, I gain agency from knowing things, from learning things, from being more certain about things. Someone might gain agency from venting, like maybe someone has a YouTube channel where they're just putting videos out into the world without a care of whether uh, you know it goes viral or not, because that is how they process things. So, oh yeah, I guess that's a good way to phrase it. How do you want to process things to gain that level of agency? People like to journal, people like to vlog, people like to just talk to other people like to sit in a room and meditate or just introspect at length. I argue that all of these are necessary, but some people definitely have a preferred method of doing that. So find that method, do that. Once you have that, once you've gained that level of let's at least internal perception of agency, then you will be more confident when you go out into to the world to seek those data points, to seek that knowledge, which you would then use to make the decisions that you are making. And uh, I'll actually read a bit from the question that they presented, which is, uh, how is that part supposed to be with them since day one, or eventually when things fall in the right place, do they begin to make out, yeah, well, the grind, is it worth it or not, since the net is satisfying or whatever? And if someone's supposed to think about the fulfilling part prior to the grind, how they're supposed to go about it, so on and so forth. Okay, so if I understood this correctly, basically, again, it kind of loops back into my point about the whole the journey is what to make of it point, which is people are very outcome driven. That is just how humans are. People are also shit at foresight. That is something that you will, it is universal. Like you might say, oh, I can plan, a week in advance or whatever. That is okay. But years, decades, no one has the physical ability to do that. And if you anyone who says that is fucking lying. I Let me tell you that right now. Even I can't plan for a month or so in advance. I mean, sure, like those of you that know me, you know my calendar and whatever. But that is because if that is assuming nothing else changes, and life always throws new things in the way. So even I won't profess to say, oh, I can plan months or days, months or years in the future, down to the exact minute or the hour of the day or whatever. Like I have a general idea, but I'm not going to trust that. I'm going to trust what what data I have access to today, and maybe what predictions I can make for tomorrow, and that is it. Everything after that is what I would say past my boundary of certainty. So, since the topic came up, I can talk about the boundary of certainty as well. So, that's a concept that I have uh, talk mentioned in some other places, and I'm pretty sure there's a more formalized definition or methodology for this, but this is just what I've cooked up off the top of my head. So obviously you have the things that you know and you have the things that you don't know. The way I like to think about it is there is certainty and then there's uncertainty. Now certainty can mean many things, which is you know something and you're 100% confident, certain rather, that this is the thing. You might know something but you're uncertain about it, like is this really something correct, is 1 plus 1 equal to 2, is it true? Like that is what I like to call the boundary of certainty. And you might, so the boundary of knowledge and boundary of other things and the boundary of certainty do not have to be supersets or subsets of each other. It can intersect everything. Like for example, there are things that I am certain that I know about, say, robotics, and there are things that I know definitely, but I am somewhat uncertain about. And my bar for certainty is rather high. So if I'm not 100% certain about something, then I am uncertain. So obviously, I live life with a very uncertain mindset. But uh, again, it's like the things that I'm certain about, you can be damn sure that I will just do it. Like I don't give a shit about what is happening in the world. I will just do that because I know that with the knowledge that I have right now, I'm 100% certain about that thing. And this kind of dovetails in with the conversation so far, which is find out that boundary of certainty. The only way you can do that is data, agency, and reflection. Get as much data as you can. Learn, see, talk to as many people, whatever as you can. Second is agency. Now that you have this data, you need to cultivate the confidence and this and the agency again to act on that data and commit to that. Commit to any decision that you make. So let's say I find out, oh, uh, this university has a degree in mechatronics and design or whatever, mechatronics and art. Just a random thing off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure there's a university that does that. Like yeah, there's some art or design colleges that have something similar, like robotics and design. So anyway, I digress. So find out what that is. So that is you gathering data, and based on the information that you have, find out whether you have enough agency to commit to that thing. Now, let's say at this point in time, you generally do not have enough agency to take massive leaps of faith, and agency can be modified or affected by a lot of other factors, like I've touched on so far. So, physical constraints, mental constraints, fiscal constraints, physical and fiscal, financial constraints. Just that is literally the only option you have while are constrained. You know what that is. Those, if you know, you know. Uh, so in that case, sure. I mean, there's nothing that we could do, right? But even so, within that boundary, there are things that you could do, and that is how you can still preserve your sense of agency, and that is where your boundary of certainty and agency can still live. So if say computer science is the only thing that you can do, but you're interested in other things, I guarantee that there is a path to those things. Now, whether that path is easy or difficult, that is up to you, but you need to have enough agency and certainty to acknowledge that this does not have to be your trajectory. Like, sure, you were started off on this trajectory, but you don't have to continue that trajectory. You can just switch. Like, who's going to stop you, basically? uh, and finally, reflection. So I talked about data, gathering data, and I have a bunch of videos where I talk about how do you get the data, the YouTube algorithm, LinkedIn algorithm, just how to surf the internet, get that knowledge, learn new things every day, whatever. Agency is, I've touched upon that in previous videos, but I think I've formulated it more explicitly in this one. I think I had one where it was like where I talked about thinking or something. So you can look that up. uh, and the third is reflection, which is something that I have covered somewhat, which is like the whole, talk to people, reflect, meditate, uh, journal, you put things down to paper or something, put something, yeah, express your inner being in a more concrete way, because that helps you crystallize some of the more nebulous aspects of what's going on up here or down here. uh, yeah, that's kind of it. it this video wasn't planned at all, so as you can see, I've rambled all over the place, but I think this should serve as a good enough launchpad for you to start thinking more about these things in general. So I guess as a to-do list, first off, just find out the things that you know right now, which you, like I said, you find out by finding out the things that you don't know. And so for now, since this video is aimed specifically as though at those people wanting to select colleges or whatever, think about it that way. What are the things that you, let's say, you cannot afford something past a certain point, or you cannot afford to travel halfway across the world or whatever. So let's find out those logical constraints. Maybe find out other constraints as well. Like maybe you just do not have enough aptitude for a certain thing at this point in time. Maybe you might have it at a later point in time, but maybe not at this point in time. So factor in those constraints. One, and then start looking up things, start gathering data. Once you have access to the data, think about the level of agency that you have. Like how confident are you right now that you can just go and do things. Maybe in the first couple of years you need a place that can handhold you uh, a certain distance of the way, a certain part of the way. Or maybe you're like, KY, just send me to any random place, I'll go get shit done. Or maybe you're that type of person. uh, so understand that level of agency. And agency also extends to like the logistics. If you want to, let's say, get something, let's say you want to start doing personal projects, do you even have the resources to do that? That also, in my opinion, factors into this concept of agency. And cultivate a method of reflection. So in my case, the way I reflect is, obviously there's introspection. I just sit in the room, keep my phone aside, and just think, or spend half an hour just lying in bed thinking. This is also a method of reflection because I have all these thoughts in my head, but speaking them unprompted helps me crystallize those thoughts and helps me formalize them a little more, so that when I actually start writing about this stuff, which I still have to, my website's fucking empty. Uh, that is the time where I will be able to take these videos and just watch them and get a better launch pad rather than trying to come up with these concepts from scratch and write the whole thing. Because writing in to me is more concrete than just speaking to a camera. For someone else, it's the opposite, where they might write whatever they want, but they want the videos that they shoot to be more of a final cut, so to speak. For me, it's the opposite. I like art, I like writing. So that's basically what it is. So I don't have a good way to end this, but point is, get data, understand your agency, reflect on what you've done, and commit. The commit, it'll work out. I've said this many times before. It'll all work out in the end. If it isn't all right, it isn't the end.